Hey, welcome into the Stinkin Truth Podcast. Mark Schlereth alongside Mike Evans, my co-host. Thank you so much for being with us again as we dive into week one. Mike, it's exciting.
You know, I've always said that the NFL is a 365-day-a-year beast that needs to be fed, and we did that very well. And the NFL, thank you for providing storylines and topics throughout the entire long off season. But now we get to talk about games.
I know it.
And some really intriguing ones right off the bat, and let's just kind of jump right into it. The potential for an upset. San Francisco on the road at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting. Obviously, Brock Purdy, there's a lot of people, they made a decision now to get rid of their third overall draft pick in Trey Lance and say, hey, ship him out of here for a fourth rounder. We believe in Brock Purdy. And what Brock Purdy did last year was nothing short of exceptional. He was great. Of course, when you have George Kittle and you've got a great running game, you got Deebo Samuel and you've got, Christian McCaffrey, and you've got all those abilities to kind of have interchangeable parts. I think the one thing that interests me about this game is no Nick Bosa. And Nick Bosa is an absolute beast. He's still working on a new contract, so I don't believe he will be playing. I don't believe he'll be showing up. But they did go out and get Javon Hargrave. They do have some inside guys that are a problem. And then you look at Pittsburgh. I mean, under Mike Tomlin, I love the effect. I think one of the things that really interests me, the way they run the ball, the way they counter this kind of, and this is a trend, and San Francisco has done it, the Philadelphia Eagles have done it, multiple defensive linemen, dress 7, 8, 9 guys during game day and rotate those sons of guns so they're always fresh, so they're always putting pressure on your run game, so they're always putting pressure on your quarterback. And a lot of teams are mimicking that now or trying to develop that kind of stable up front of guys that can really play. So we'll see exactly how they do without Nick Bosa. But, I keep going back to what Mike Tomlin once told me last year about their running game, Najee Harris. And what he said was, hey, man, you got to understand from a maturity standpoint that every meal is not a banquet. You got to know when to take, you got to know when just to eat appetizers, right? You got to know when to just take a 4-yard gain or a 3-yard gain and just turn that into a physical, nasty kind of play that sets up our play action and does some of that stuff for us. So I think that's one of the things that'll be interesting for me to watch is Kenny Pickett and those guys, try to upset the 49ers.
We know you're a big Kyle Shanahan guy. You're a big Shanahan guy from your day spent with Mike Shanahan. I totally get it. But with Pittsburgh, are you a Kenny Pickett guy? Because if you are, and if he is the answer, then my goodness, the transition, the rebuild for the Steelers post Ben Roethlisberger will have happened fast.
Yeah, tiny little hands.
Pray for his hands.
Pray for his tiny little hands. Hey, Kenny Pickett is legit, and Kenny Pickett really is like a football junkie. He's a really good fit for Pittsburgh. I do believe that. With George Pickens, who I think is going to have just this breakout season for them at the receiver position, I really do. What is it, 15 years in a row now that Tomlin hasn't had a losing season? Just when you walk in there and you talk to Mike Tomlin, the confidence, it's not arrogance, man. It's just confidence, belief, and you can feel his team has that. And the competition, the great teams that I've been around as I travel around the league, the great teams just on practice on Friday, you see the way they compete on Fridays, where a lot of teams are trying to take Friday off, like, hey, man, this is just an easy walkthrough. Man, they're competing their asses off. And I just have so much respect for him as a coach, the job that he has done. I really appreciate that about him. That should be a great matchup, by the way.
Well, you're a big culture guy, and I would think Pittsburgh they've got a living, breathing culture, right?
Yes.
I mean, they have a standard that just everybody understands. This is what it is.
I had this conversation with Mike Tomlin. I've had it with several different coaches. And coaches are so, don't want to step out of, the realm of what we do and every day is planned. And I said to Mike Tomlin, I've had this idea forever and I see you doing it. And my idea would be one day, like in the OTAs, right? It's just a day. But in the OTAs, make the defense go to offensive meetings and make the offense go to defensive meetings and then make them go out and practice on the football field that way. Make the defensive lineman play offensive line, vice versa. You just do that for a day. And I go, And I think what you would learn, the value of what you would learn was the problems the other guys have. Like everybody's got issues, right? And it would help you have a deeper understanding of your teammates' issues. And I've always thought, like, this has always been an idea that's floating around in my head.
This is a Mark Schlereth thing. This is nothing that you did in Washington or
No. It's
Denver.
always been something that has like resonated in my head because, like, I know, having played defense in college, like I understand the issues probably better than somebody who hasn't played defense in college, been an offensive player their entire career. And I just think it would help you kind of almost develop empathy for everybody else on your football team, not just what your problems are, but what their problems are. And so I show it to Friday practice, and Mike Tomlin runs a drill where the backs are catching the ball out of the backfield and try to shake it down one-on-one. You know, they're not tackling to the ground, but they're just trying to fit up and, tap. And so the backs are going against, in this drill, linebackers and safeties. And all of a sudden, they get about halfway through the drill, he blows the whistle and goes, all right, switch it up. Now all of a sudden, the safeties and the linebackers are catching the ball, and the backs are trying to fit up on them. And I tell
You're
you
like
what,
a proud papa.
the energy. Well, I didn't tell him about it. He did it. He does it on his own.
Great minds.
And yeah, great minds think alike. But the energy and the excitement, and also the respect that the running backs had for what those safeties have to go through, or those linebackers have to go through, and vice versa. I just thought it was a really cool moment to see a coach actually do that, and it created some fun and some competition and everything else in practice. I thought it was a good idea.
San Francisco, Pittsburgh, looking forward to that one. How about this one? Green Bay and Chicago. Basically a pick'em game. By the way, we'll do our moneymaker or money-losing picks.
With 3 picks against the spread, we'll keep tally all season long. The moneymaker pick's sure to go wrong. I'll pick my 3, you pick your 3. We'll go flip-flop back and forth over the course of the season. You'll keep a stellar record. You'll
Very
just
meticulous
yes. in your penmanship
With my
over there.
handwriting, yeah.
Yes, and we will see who wins again. I think I'm undefeated in 3 years of doing it, but
I think you normally win in the regular season, but I dominated in the playoffs when it really matters. But
would you have gotten to the playoffs?
I would have snuck in.
No, I don't.
It's like the Bill Parcells line. Just get into the tournament.
Just get in.
Just get into the tournament. Green Bay and Chicago. Fascinating from a couple of standpoints. Let's start with Chicago. A lot of belief out there around the NFL world that Justin Fields is poised to make the leap. Are you one of them?
I think that's real. I think it's really interesting because what he did last year, from the beginning of the year toward the end of the year, was pretty remarkable. The leap he made. I compared him. I did a game early in the season, and I compared him to my golf game, meaning that I have one drive or a couple shots around that make me think, man, if I just could be consistent, I could be really good at golf.
I've
right?
seen this. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he had those shots that keep you coming back to the course. Early in his career, man, he'd make some awful decisions and awful throws. But then he would have that one, that seam where a linebacker's trying to carry the tight end down the seam. The safety is in the middle of the field, and he just absolutely drives the football away from the safety's hips, and it's just perfectly placed. And you're like, whoa. Like that was because he got a hose. Like that was an absolute shot. And you see that and you go, man, if he could just put that together on a more consistent basis. Well, what you saw last year was him doing that with their running game and with their quarterback run game. And Luke Getsy, I think, is their offensive coordinator, did a great job of figuring that out and doing that for them. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement for good reason. There's a lot of excitement with Fields, and we'll see if he takes that next step. I mean, that's what we're here for. And defensively, man, they were so young. They were one of those, like it's like a baseball team where they bring up all their September call-ups, a team that's not very good, and they're going, hey, like we're just giving the young kids a chance to cut their teeth and thrive, and they're going to become big-time major leaguers. Well, last year they did that on defense to a regard. Like their whole secondary, young players all over the place, scattered on that defensive football team. And I kept thinking to myself, calling those games, eventually these guys are going to grow up, and they're already talented and they're already pretty good, but they're going to get really good. They're a sneaky team. We'll see exactly how they play.
Green Bay, life after Aaron Rodgers? What's it going to look like?
I think you're going to be blown away. One of my one of my guys that I think has a chance to be a breakout player this season is Jordan Love. And I think he took some of the lessons from Aaron Rodgers. I think he took some of the lessons from being competitive at practice and really grew in his practice habits, in the way he attacked. Aaron Rodgers told me last year, he goes, here's a guy that took that scout team, that look squad, and just owned it. And Aaron had told Jordan Love, like, the way I got good at my off-platform throws, the way I got good at all the things that I do was cutting our defense up when I was backing up Favre. I went out every Wednesday, every Thursday, every Friday, and my sole mission was to punish our defense. And he goes, when you start practicing with that kind of attitude, and start working on your craft in that, like, that's when you're really going to take off. And you go back a couple of years ago when he played against, it was a Kansas City Chiefs, he was just bad. And then go back to last year, this maybe 2 years ago, and then go back to last year when he played, I think, against Dallas. Like, the growth and it was exponential. I think he's got a chance to be a big breakout type player.
Big early season battle in the NFC East. Dallas at the Giants. Dallas has won 11 of the past 12 meetings in the regular season between these two teams. That's dominance. You know it from your days with the Broncos when you went, 11-1 against the Raiders over a stretch?
Sure.
The Giants, what they did last year, breakout season for them. Do they build on it, or is there maybe kind of a market correction for them?
Well, I think you look at the NFC East in general, and with Philly and with Dallas and even Washington to a degree, there is so much talent within that division. And you look at the Giants, man, they did that with very limited talent on the offensive side of the ball. Their quarterback played really well, especially in the run game. You know, his breakout season had 15 touchdown passes, but I think he had 7 rushing touchdowns. So what they did, balancing him in the running game along with Saquon Barkley, I thought that was exceptional. Isaiah Hodgins, they got him out of Buffalo, and I tell you what, 4 TDs in his last 5 games. He became the go-to guy for Daniel Jones, and I thought he was really good. I think the big deal for me, and watching them in the preseason, all the 2 and 3 tight end sets, they went out and got Darren Waller, and Darren Waller is a complete football player. I mean, he can split out wide. He can play in the run game as the Y. He can be the F guy in motion. He can do a lot of different things for you. But Darren Waller's a legit player. Like, he's a complete tight end, one of the top guys. When you start tiering the guys, you know, as far as like the guys that can really play and do all things, like Kittle. You put Kittle in there. You put Dallas Goedert in there. I think he's one of those guys. Well, they've got Darren Waller. They've also got a guy, I believe by the name of, is it Bellinger?
Yep.
I think it's Bellinger, that was a rookie last year who was really exceptional. So their 2 and 3 tight end sets, I believe, are going to be a big part of what they do offensively. Yeah, they're an interesting bunch. And then you look at them on defense. I mean, one thing about Wink Martindale, we know him well. He was a linebacker coach here. He was a defense coordinator in Baltimore. Wink Martindale is a believer in, I'm going to bust you in the mouth. I'm going to blitz you on first down, second down, third down. He'll always be one of the top 2 or 3 guys in the league when it comes to blitzing the opponent's quarterback. And one of the things he loves to do, especially on first down, is bring pressure, get you behind the chains. Your running game, all of a sudden it's second down and 12, and now he's got you. And he does a great job. So he's one of those guys. Now, you'll give up some big plays, but his belief is, in the end of the game, if I give up 5 big plays, I'm going to make 8, and I'm going to beat your ass.
For the Cowboys, you made some very celebrated comments about Jerry Jones and the Cowboys on this podcast in the last couple of days. But am I over-exaggerating things in talking about Dak Prescott as being at a crossroads in his career? Where's it going to go?
Right.
As the Dallas Cowboys quarterback? Feels like he's kind of reached that proverbial fork in the road.
It feels even more so now that the head coach didn't have anything to do with trading for a quarterback who was the 3rd overall pick, and Trey Lance. And, and then the head coach has to come out and say something ridiculous like, he's got a beautiful mind, like everything we gave him in the after. Well, I don't, like, the whole beautiful mind concept, I don't care. Like, I know a lot of guys.
Well, he had to come up with something.
Right, but I know a lot of guys. The beautiful mind thing is like a backhanded compliment. It's like saying, hey, the dude is crafty as a pitcher, right? Which when you say a dude is crafty, it means he can't throw hard, right? So now he's got to find a different way to get it out. When I say beautiful mind, or when I hear beautiful mind in football parlance, you know what it says to me? The guy's really good on a grease board. Ain't worth a shit when he gets on the field, but man, can he answer all the questions on a grease board? That's the beautiful mind comment to me. And yet you brought him in, so now there's already that kind of internal tension on Dak Prescott. And I think Dak Prescott's a really good player. I really do. I think he's got an old soul. I think he's a smart guy. Now all of a sudden Mike McCarthy's going to take over the play calling aspects of this, and there'll still be the scheme and stuff, but my understanding of Mike McCarthy, and this comes from Aaron Rodgers, like there's a lot that has to do on the quarterback's plate. Like, hey man, I want you to go after in critical situations, 2nd down and 7+, 3rd down and long. You pick the matchup you like and you just dictate. Like that's like, so scheme-wise, there's a lot of that individualism that's put on the quarterback's shoulders. Well, Dak is going to have a chance to prove it. Either you are the guy that leads the Cowboys forward in the future, or maybe you're not. And this is kind of the year. I mean, this is a prove-it year. And, I always say this about the Cowboys. They're so talented. They're going to be good. They're going to win a lot of games. And then they'll get in the playoffs and they'll piss down their legs like they do every year.
Philadelphia and New England. Speaking about quarterbacks that may be at a bit of a crossroads, Mac Jones.
Yeah.
This is a big year for Mac Jones to show whether or not he can be the long-term answer in New England. He gets his first opportunity with a real offensive coordinator for the first time in a couple of years. Bill O'Brien's back, and he's doing it in front of Tom Brady. Tom Brady being honored for this game, and there got to be a lot of Patriot legends there. So,
oh man,
how does Squishy Mac handle all that?
I think Squishy Mac will handle it well.
Should we explain why we call him Squishy Mac, by the way, for the viewers?
Well, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. His body looks squishy.
If you remember that picture after they won a title at Alabama, he had his shirt off.
Right, was smoking a cigar.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm a little squishy.
Yeah, when I saw him in that picture, I just instantly want to stick my finger in his belly button. Nobody else felt that way?
Anybody
Nobody?
else? Yeah.
Is it only me?
Right.
You
want to do it to me?
No, because I don't think you wash inside your belly button very well. That would just be my guess. That would just be. I've worked with you for a long time.
Occasional piece of lint in there.
Right. I go back to his rookie year and meeting with Josh McDaniels and meeting with Bill Belichick. The deal was anything we give him, he can assimilate it, he can understand it, and he can go out on the football field and execute it, which is different than the beautiful mind, right? There's a lot of guys that can take it in, assimilate it, draw it up on a grease board, and can't execute it. And the point, especially with Josh, was like, hey, man, there is nothing that he is not in charge of at the line of scrimmage. He has got total and complete authority to get us out of bad plays, bad looks. And he knows what to get to. And as a rookie, he took them after Tom Brady. As a rookie, took them to the playoffs. And he played pretty well in his rookie year. Last year, abject disaster. You had a special teams coach that got fired from the Giants. You had a defensive coach that got fired from the Lions, being co-offensive coordinators. Like, okay, that was a dumb experiment that we all saw coming in the beginning. But I think now with Bill O'Brien back there, you've got some stability. There'll be give and take. Obviously, Bill O'Brien will get after you. So, I think it's a good thing for Squishy Mac. I expect him to have a somewhat of a bounce back.
Think Tom Brady and Bill O'Brien can have a screaming match just for old time's sake, just to kind of
wouldn't that be
liven
great?
Up the pregame festivities?
Up yours! Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to see that.
Philadelphia, there's a belief out there that it's the team that wins the Super Bowl that tends to have the hangover the next year. Actually, it's the team that loses the Super Bowl that historically tends to have the hangover the next season. What about Philadelphia? Are they a team that will suffer a hangover for what happened in the Super Bowl, or will they come back even more hungry and determined?
I think there's a couple of things. I think, one, Nick Sirianni knows what he is, the head coach of the Eagles. Now, you lose both your coordinators. That happens to you when you have success. So that, offensively, that would scare me a little bit. But they are so talented, and one of the things I always say about them with their quarterback run game, with their run game, with their passing game, with the RPO game, with all the talent that they have, they can line up. It's like Globo Gym. I use this line all the time. We're better than you, and we know it. Like, one of the things about them, when you watch them, they've done such a good job of building their offensive line and having depth on their offensive line. Even when they lose a guy, like Cam Jurgens comes in, he was a second-round pick. The dude is a player. And he's just been waiting his turn to fill in. Now he's going to play guard, right guard, and they won't miss a beat. And here's the thing I love about them. You want to, how do you want to play us? You want to play us little? We'll smash you. We just will, duo stuff, gap. We'll just smash you, run it right down your freaking gullet. We don't care. Oh, you want to play big? We can get to your edge with the pin and pull game. Our center can pull, get out there in the space, or we can run the screen game. We've got options. So there's no way that you can line up that they can't beat you up in that personnel grouping or however you want to do that as a defense. So they've got that duality to create opportunity for themselves and beat you in a myriad of different ways. And then you add the quarterback run stuff to it with Jalen Hurts and that maturation that he's gone through as a passer. Now, you lose your offensive coordinator, and I think Shane Steichen, their offensive coordinator, I think that's a big loss, because one thing I think that Shane Steichen has been able to do, whether it was with Jalen Hurts or you go beyond that to the Chargers when he had Justin Herbert. And I think one of the things he's been able to do is to make football simple for the quarterback, right? To create mechanisms, if you will, to create a mechanism to have the quarterback understand pre-snap what the coverage is, what they're in, and where to go with the football. And I think Steichen does a really good job of coaching his QBs so the game is simple for them. Now they have to have the aptitude to do it, but it was always the thing that impressed me most about Justin Herbert. Talking to Justin Herbert is you'd ask him a question, and the game was just simple to him. And I think Shane Steichen has a lot to do with his growing up in the league and taking the league by storm. Remember, he's supposed to be the backup, and they puncture Tyrod Taylor's lung. The doctor does, give him a shot in the ribs, and the next thing you know, a star is born. Mm-hmm. And so I think that Steichen did that with Jalen Hurts when head coach Nick Sirianni gave up play calling duty after 7 weeks in his first season, and then last year, of course, they go to the Super Bowl. So that's a possible big loss to me.
Bills and Jets. I can't wait for your moneymaker picks. Bills are a 2.5-point favorite at the Jets, and seeing as how you swing from Aaron Rodgers' yarbles in a hammock, I gotta believe this is one you're going to be jumping on.
Yeah, I would normally jump on that. This was one thing competing against you is I picked all my picks. I had one eye closed when I was picking my picks. I did it like this because it's like if I used both eyes to look at the spreads, it'd be too easy.
Oh, really?
It would be just too. It would be too easy.
You want to leave me a few?
And I looked
breadcrumbs along the way.
I looked at that game and I said, you know what? He knows that Aaron Rodgers is going to open a can of whoop ass on the Bills. He knows there's some problem with the Bills, and I'm going to leave that low hanging fruit for him this time. Mm-hmm. And did you jump on it? Nope. Totally oblivious to what's going on.
Well, can you explain to me why Buffalo's a favorite?
Oh, yeah, because odds makers are, the Buffalo Bills have been so good. Oh, Josh Allen's a superstar. Oh,
And Aaron Rodgers isn't?
Nah,
on the big stage in New York?
Yeah, Buffalo's from New York.
Are they?
Yes, they are.
Are they really from New York? I mean,
Plus, you look at the talent with Stephon Diggs. You look at the talent with Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox. There's a lot of uncertainty.
Could it be that maybe you are just kind of over dramatizing whatever issues might be around Buffalo, and that they'll be just fine, and that they're still the class of the AFC East, and that the Jets have a lot of newness?
Of course they have. They've got a lot of newness. I'll tell you what. They defensively they can be. I think they were fourth.
Just ask DJ Reed.
Yeah, I think they were fourth in the league last year as a defense, and they didn't have an offense to complement them.
Correct.
So they got a chance to be really good. Yeah. Okay. So what? I love Aaron Rodgers. Not as much as Brady, but I had to go from one hammock to the next. Right, I was in Brady's hammock for years.
Yes.
Now I've gone into Aaron Rodgers' hammock, and it smells like ghee butter down here. I'll tell you that.
Last one, and it's not a high-profile game, Washington at Arizona, but it's the game you're going to be calling for Fox, and I think it is important because it's the first game in the post-Daniel Snyder era, and, man, it's like ding dong, the witch is dead, and for a franchise that has always been one of the real flagship franchises in the NFL, one of the real glamour franchises in the NFL, boy, it'd be nice, and maybe this is the first step in Washington getting back to that level.
Yeah, Washington, that franchise was one of the crown jewels. They were for years and years and years. Joe Gibbs was there, obviously, and you go all the way to George Allen, Jack Pardee, and you go back even people forget this, but Vince Lombardi coached there. After his Green Bay stint was over. So you look at Washington. I'm telling you what, Mike, and I'm doing the game. You want to talk about loaded, like talent wise, loaded. Now there's some question marks about their offensive line, defensive line is loaded, wide receiver room. Loaded. Now they've got Sam Howell. He was a former fifth rounder last year. You look at him. What is he going to be? I'm not 100% sure what he's going to be, but there is a lot of talent, and I think that defense has a chance to keep them in every single game. So, but it's cool, man. The one thing about going back and doing this game it is like you talk about Dorothy in the Wicked Witch of the West when she throws the water on the Wicked Witch, and then all the foot soldiers go, "All hail Dorothy!" Right? Like Daniel Snyder is dead, and everybody is really excited about this team, even if they're not most people would have picked them fourth in the NFC East. But I have a feeling this division is going to be kind of tooth and nail all the way through. I think Philly's the class, and Dallas has got a lot of talent, but I think the Giants and Washington both have some toughness about them and some grit about them that they're going to be competitive.
One more. We do our radio show in Denver. For the Bronco fans watching, is the Sean Payton debut going to be a success?
I believe so. I believe so. You want to talk about mechanisms for supporting your quarterback, game planning wise. Obviously they have had their time with the Raiders. The Vegas Raiders have had 6 games in a row. They've beaten them. Last year, Josh Jacobs averaged, I think, 170 yards per game. So shutting him down, Devontae Adams went wild in the game here in Denver last year. So, all those things are part and parcel of what they're going to do. It'll be really interesting to see how Sean Payton develops an offensive game plan with limited wide receiving core right now because of injuries, and how they run the football and kind of how they control the tempo of this game. That's going to be really interesting. And to see Russell Wilson and the progress that I assume he's going to make under Sean Payton's tutelage. It'll be good. Got to have a plan for Max Crosby. Mad Max is an absolute unrelenting beast when it comes to rushing the passer. He's one of my favorite players to watch, one of my favorite guys to talk to, and that dude is legit good, legit good.
Ready for the Moneymaker picks?
I am ready. Ready.
We'll let you go first.
Okay.
Age before beauty, so go right ahead. You get the first of 3 picks.
Okay, because I wrote these down because you're chicken scratch. I can't even read it. I wrote these down in my handy-dandy notebook. it's absolutely imperative to have a handy-dandy notebook to keep yourself on track. Just a little word to the wise. Okay, so first pick. It's Carolina. It's Atlanta at Carolina, right? Is that right?
Other way around.
Oh, it's at Atlanta? Doesn't matter. I like the Falcons. I think the Falcons are going to surprise a few people. I think their running game is going to be outstanding. Their physicality will be outstanding. I like the Atlanta Falcons 3.5, giving up 3.5 over Carolina. All right?
Okay.
So now I'm going to move to Chicago. Is it at Green Bay or the other way around?
Green Bay at Chicago.
Green Bay at Chicago.
I wrote the little at signature next to my games.
I thought because you put the first team first and then the second team, usually the second team is the road team. But you did it backwards because...
No, I put the favorite on the left.
I don't like the way you did it. That's all I'm saying. I don't like... So this could... If I go 3-0...
always goes on the left.
Well, if I go 3-0, we're good. If I lose to you this week, the game will be game will be under protest. Okay. So I went Green Bay at Chicago. Chicago, a 1-point favorite. I'm taking Green Bay to win that one outright.
Okay.
And then we've got Jacksonville at Indy. I did that right?
Yes.
Jacksonville at Indy. Indy, brand new program, young quarterback. I got Jacksonville off their playoff win last year. I got Jacksonville going in there, giving up 5.5. I'll give the 5. I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars by a touchdown.
All right, just to be a pain in your butt, I'm going to go opposite your Green Bay pick.
Okay, that's your one loss.
I'm going to take Chicago at home -1. Jordan Love, I know you're very excited about Jordan Love, but he has thrown a career 83 passes. That's it. Mm-hmm. And you're asking him to go on the road to Soldier Field and win a rivalry game. I think that's going to be tough to do. I'll take Chicago.
Man, Chicago. Man, Justin Fields, it's me, Mike Evans. I'm your biggest fan. Woo, your shoulders look tight. Let me rub your back. Yeah, what a kiss ass. Keep going.
Chicago -1. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh plus the 2.5. I know this.
I don't even know you anymore.
I know.
I don't even.
How dare you pick against the Shanahan?
Why do you hate Mike and Kyle Shanahan so much? No, you do.
I got a lot of respect for Mike Tomlin for all the great things you said earlier in this podcast.
Right.
You made a believer of me.
Point to the doll where Mike Shanahan hurt you. Go ahead. Where did he hurt? Point to the doll where he hurt you.
I'll take Pittsburgh plus the 2.5.
Okay.
I think Pittsburgh wins outright. I think they pull off the upset.
I'm sure.
And the game you're going to be calling, I'm buying the I'm going to call this the ding dong game, the ding dong the witch is dead game, and I'm going to take Washington -7 against Arizona. They look like a team that's just ready to tank. So,
well, I don't like that term, tank. No NFL team tanks. Okay.
You can't say it. I can say it.
You can say it, but it just is dumb. Saying tank is dumb.
Cardinal fan, do you feel me? You want them to tank.
Well,
Caleb Williams, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like Sam Darnold for the Jets, or Zach Wilson for the Jets.
Caleb Williams is not. Those two don't even compare to Caleb Williams and how people feel about it. You got a lot of respect for Sean Payton?
Yeah.
Sean Payton says Caleb Williams is like the best prospect he's seen come out of college, a quarterback, in a long, long time.
Good. Well, that doesn't mean he's going to be a great NFL
player. Say that about Zach Wilson.
Okay. Well, that's
or
fine.
Sam Darnold, or Baker Mayfield, or Trey Lance, or
there are a lot of guys.
He's rubbing
there's
his
a lot.
face.
There's a lot of
He's
guys.
rubbing his face.
Jeff George was great coming out. Oh, Jamarcus Russell. I mean, he's going to change your franchise. Oh, on and on. You know how I feel about. I hate quarterbacks. So.
You want to share, by the way, really quick before we get out of here, what you said to me earlier about the Heisman Trophy?
Oh, there's a garbage award? Yeah, no, it's a garbage award.
The Heisman Trophy is a garbage award.
It's absolute garbage. Everybody knows that it's garbage.
It's one of the most. It's one of the most prestigious trophies handed out every year.
It's one of the dumbest trophies handed out every year, because it doesn't go to the greatest football player. It goes to the greatest guy who throws the ball or catches the ball. Not football. Those guys aren't even quarterbacks. Aren't even football players. I don't even want to get in this conversation.
Here. Where did the quarterback hurt you?
Yeah, where did
the quarterback hurt you?
Well, I told you this on a radio show, and I'll adhere to this. When Terrell Suggs can take like 24 sacks in one college season, can have a bunch of tackles for losses, cause a bunch of fumbles, can put up the most remarkable statistics. They don't even look real, the stats he put up his junior year at Arizona State in the Pac-12, a major conference, and not even get invited to the Heisman Award ceremony. It's garbage. Absolute, utter garbage. Don't they have a award for the best quarterback?
Yes.
Let's just cancel the Heisman and just keep giving out the whatever it is. What's the award?
The Davey O'Brien
Award? Yeah.
Or the Maxwell Award, something like that. Yeah.
Who gives a crap? Hey, for everybody, by the way,
I'm glad the games are here. Someone's gotten grumpy without games to call.
By the way, you can hit us up on the comment board here on YouTube. Hit us up on the comment board. And I'll let you guys think about this. I'll let you guys pick, because we're going to do this like fantasy. At the end of the season, the guy that has the winning record, the guy that wins in the moneymaker picks, you guys can choose kind of a punishment. That guy has
for the loser.
For the loser has to accept a punishment based on
the creative ideas of our viewers.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay. For everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth Podcast, man, we appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back with you after the Week 1 games are over.